Nora has always believed trolls were a part of fairy tales. But when a troll is awakened in her city, will she be able to stop it from wreaking havoc? The movie begins with a young Nora climbing a mountain with her father. She slips down but manages to catch up with him on the top of the mountain. There, her father reminds her of a troll fairy tale where 13 trolls got drunk at a wedding and lost track of time. And when the sun rose, it turned them to stone mountains. At first, Nora does not believe that the trolls are real, but then her father asks her to believe that they exist and that she will be able to see them. When she starts to concentrate, that is when Nora notices the faces of the 13 trolls on the top of the mountain. The scene changes to 20 years later. Nora and a group of explorers are digging at a site to find evidence of the existence of trolls. Her colleague tells her that their university is insisting that they come back since they have not been successful in their quest. Nora tells him that she will not give up. Just then, Nora's shovel hits something hard, and she discovers that they have found a dinosaur fossil. A few days later, heavy machinery is seen going inside the mountain, and people are protesting outside, telling the miners to stay out of their mountains. The machinery starts digging, and explosives go off inside the mountain. When nighttime falls, the workers go in to start digging. They suddenly hear rumbling inside the cave. Everyone starts to run out, but the cave collapses on them, killing everyone inside. Meanwhile, at the Norwegian Armed Forces headquarters in Oslo, a group of officers begins to see high seismic activity in the Dovre mountain as their radars start to go off. Pilots immediately take off toward it to rescue civilians. One of the pilots shows their commanding officer the visuals from the mountain, leaving everyone confused at the headquarters. They then contact the Prime Minister and fill her in on the situation. Her advisor, Andreas, jokingly points out that the indentions in the ground look like footprints. The Prime Minister then tells him to contact geologists, archaeologists, and other qualified personnel to assess the situation. Meanwhile, Nora and her colleagues are celebrating their findings when they see a helicopter approaching their site. A soldier gets out and tells her that she needs to go to Oslo due to a national emergency. When she gets there, she is taken to a top-secret meeting where experts present their opinions on what could have left the imprints. Nora stops them and tells them what they are seeing are footprints. Just then, an officer, Sigrid, comes in to show them a video that had been recovered from a civilian's cell phone. When Nora makes her pause the video in between, they notice what looks like a hominid. Nora insists that it is something that has feet like humans because there is no other explanation for the footprints and the video. The Prime Minister then makes her the scientific advisor for the operation. Elsewhere, an old woman and her husband are having tea when their house starts rumbling. They take shelter in their basement, and when they get out, they notice that their house has been torn apart. Nora is then sent to the location where she meets the man and the woman who answer her questions. The woman then tells Nora that she heard howling before their house was torn apart. When Nora goes outside, she tells the soldiers with her that she can smell something strange in the air. A few minutes later, Nora tells Andreas that she has a theory, and they need to go visit her father to get answers. She warns him that her father had a wild imagination and that he has lost his mind. Soon, they reach her father's home. She tells him that something came out of the mountain, and he tells Andreas and Captain Chris that it has to be the trolls that have been wreaking havoc. He tells Nora and the men to take him to the site so that he can assess it. Everyone gets in the helicopter, but Nora's father points at a hill and asks them to land the helicopter there. He points at the map and tells Nora that the topography of the area is not right. He once again starts to mention trolls, but Nora disregards him and tells him that he needs to stop talking about fairy tales. Suddenly, Nora notices a troll's open eye behind her father. Everyone stares in shock, but quickly gets on the helicopter and manages to escape from the troll, who had camouflaged himself within the mountains. Andreas, Captain Kirk, Nora, and her father then reach the headquarters, who had been made aware of the troll after Captain Chris shared a live video of it. Nora warns her father not to mention anything about the trolls, or everyone will think that he is crazy. But he still argues with the commanding officers and tells them that these are trolls. They then get into an argument where no one believes him. He is then taken away, and Nora asks the Prime Minister if they can have more time to investigate. However, The Prime Minister refuses her request because she thinks it is too risky. Nora tells her father that she is going to dig for fossils, but her father tells her that they have to help the troll because it was woken up to a world that he has no idea about, and the weapons can scare him. Nora agrees and asks Captain Chris to take them along. When the armed forces arrive, they take a position and wait for the trolls to reveal themselves. Sometime later, everyone hears rumbling and sees the troll walking towards them. Despite Nora's father's advice not to shoot, the soldiers begin to shoot at the troll. Captain Chris notices the attacks are not causing any damage and shouts at everyone to retreat. Chris, Andreas, Nora, and her father hide behind a tree trunk. One of the soldiers near them begins to pray. Nora's father points to the fact that trolls can smell Christian blood, and the soldier is attacked by a troll who eats him. As everyone rushes to retreat, Nora's father walks toward the troll and begins to calm it down. Just then, Nora notices a tank turning toward the troll and opening fire, causing the troll to retaliate and hit her father in the process. Nora rushes to him, and he manages to say a few words before he dies. That night, Nora goes over her father's notes to find clues about what he might have known. The next morning, Captain Chris tells Nora that they are going to continue following the troll and kill it. Then, Andreas gives a picture to Nora of a church, and she begins to connect the dots, and the three of them rush to the control room. They tell the Prime Minister and the General that the trolls used to target churches because church bells would bother them. She then tells them her plan and asks to be given a chance to execute it. Meanwhile, the troll shows up at an amusement park. But before it can attack anyone, Nora and a few of the soldiers arrive at the park in a helicopter with church bells attached to them, the sound of which aggravates the troll, and he destroys 3 of the helicopters. Just before a helicopter crashes on a child, the troll grabs it and manages to save the child. He then leaves the park. The news of a troll on the loose breaks and creates nationwide panic. The Prime Minister sends Nora back after telling her that the situation is not under her control. She then addresses the nation and tells them to take care of each other while they try to get the situation under control. Andreas resigns as the advisor and, along with Nora, tries to exit Oslo when Nora suddenly realizes that the royal palace is the troll's home. She asks Andreas to turn around and head to the palace. When they reach the palace, they are escorted by a man named Sinding, who was responsible for making everyone think that he was crazy and that these theories were nothing but fairy tales. He then takes them to a tunnel that is filled with dead bodies of trolls. He tells them that this palace belonged to the Troll King. All trolls were killed except for the king's child, who was lured into the mountain and trapped there. She suddenly realizes that the troll was the new king and that he was making his way to the palace. She also realizes that light can kill the troll when her fluorescent light begins to burn the fossils. She comes up with a plan and contacts Captain Chris to help her with it. At the same time, in the headquarters, the Prime Minister tells the general to go ahead with his plan of using a secret weapon that had been developed by the military. Sigrid overhears the general and informs Andreas about it, who tells her to hack into the system and stop them from launching the bomb. She manages to override the system at the last minute, giving Nora and Andreas the time to start executing their plan. She starts driving toward Captain Chris and his men who had been asked by Nora to set up. Andreas takes the cloth off the back of the truck and it reveals a skull. When the troll notices it, he begins to chase them. When they release the skull, the troll picks it up and begins to mourn for his lost family. When he accidentally drops the skull and breaks it, he begins to chase Nora and Andreas again, intending to kill them. The two of them jump out of the truck as soon as they reach Captain Chris and his soldiers. Nora is about to get crushed by him when the sirens and horns start to go off, distracting the troll. Captain Chris then turns on the lights, causing the troll's body to start burning. The troll continues to moan in pain. Nora begins to sympathize with the troll and runs to turn the lights off. She then begs the troll to return to the mountain so that everyone will leave him alone. But before the troll can leave, the sun begins to rise, and the troll's body burns off, killing him. Everyone at the headquarters watches as the troll dies. Nora stands near the troll as it turns to nothing but dust and rocks. Nora is then escorted away as the media begins to take pictures of the dead troll. Andreas asks Nora if she thinks there are any more trolls alive, but she does not answer him. The movie ends with rocks among the wreckage beginning to form another troll.